What's up, Star Wars fans and action figure collectors? Darth Collector here, and today we have a very special video. So just behind this door is my full Star Wars action figure collection, and I'm going to be giving you guys a full room tour today. So let's open it up and go see what's going on. Alright, so you may notice the window open and some lights are on. These are just so you guys can see the collection better, and I actually moved it over all to be on one wall instead of having it split up like I did last year. Before we get going with that, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for helping me hit 100 subscribers. It really means a lot to me, and that was one of my really big goals for this channel. So the next goal is going to be trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, which obviously is a lot more than 100. So if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing just to help me reach that goal of 1,000. Now let's get into the collection tour. So starting off, here's just kind of a quick overview of all of it. I've got the vast majority of the figures on the wall here, but then looking down at the ground, I've got quite a few down here as well as the vehicles. So as you may notice, the figures are arranged kind of by movie this time, but some of them aren't, like the Jedi up there and the Sith. So I'm going to kind of just start off with those guys and then we'll move through the movies. So starting out here with the Jedi, you may notice I have the Jedi Council set right in the front. So I just have 2 of these. I don't know how many there are total, but I may not be getting the rest of them anytime soon. So on here we've got Mace Windu, Evan Peel, Oppo Rancisis, which is a really cool one with his tail. We've got Yarel Poof, Depa Billaba, and Yaddle. And in the front, I've also got Yoda right here, which is the vintage collection one, with a bunch of my lightsaber hilts that either broke or just came as lightsaber hilts, kind of sitting in the front. Just behind them, I have kind of a lineup of Jedi from Revenge of the Sith. So I have the 4 that went to kill Palpatine. Agent Kolar's on this side, I don't know why. But I've got Agent Kolar, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, and then Plo Koon, but I probably should have switched him with Agent Kolar. Over here, you'll notice I have 2 of the Jedi Starfighters, which is Anakin's and Plo Koon's, and I have Bastila Shan kind of sitting in between them. I also have a second Plo Koon and a second Anakin by their Starfighters. Looking in the back here, I have some expanded universe Jedi and then just some other Jedi that don't necessarily appear in all the movies. So starting off on the right side, you can see Kukruk here, and he's actually one of my favorites and one of the rarer 3 3/4 figures in my collection. I've got Sora Bulk, I've got Rowan Shrine from the Geonosis Arena 3-pack. We've got Asherad Het here, he's also one of my favorites. I've got Boltar Swan, 2 of them actually. Pablo Gil there, Bayek, Search, Sev, Roth Dalmasona in the back, Cade Skywalker, Roran Korob, Volvith Mon, Falmadama, Galen Merrick as a Jedi, and then we have a different Kit Fisto in the back from, I believe, the Clone Wars micro series, but I'm not sure. Now, I also have 2 more Jedi right here, which is the New Jedi Order Luke Skywalker figure from the Jedi Legacy 3-pack, and then a Saga Obi-Wan. And this Obi-Wan's actually my favorite figure in my whole collection. It's kind of my nostalgia figure, one of the first ones I ever had, so I just really like that figure. I also have Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter with R4P17 sitting in the middle. That's going to be all for the Jedi figures so far. So now moving down, we actually have the Sith. So if you couldn't tell, I'm not as much of a Sith collector as I am a Jedi collector, but I still do have a few cool ones. Starting off on the right, I have the Grand Inquisitor, followed by Darth Nihilus from the Sith Legacy 3-pack. I've got a fully articulated Darth Vader, but I'm not sure which line he's from. If you could let me know, that'd be great. I have a couple Clone Wars figures here, Shirtless Savage and Asajj Ventress, as well as 2 Emperor Palpatines. This one's actually from Dark Empire, the one in the back there, from when he was cloned and reborn, kind of like Rise of Skywalker. I've got another Dark Empire Luke, who you may be thinking is not actually a Dark Lord, but he did turn to the dark side in that story, which is kind of odd. Check it out. We also have TCW Count Dooku right here, as well as shirtless Darth Maul and Darth Bane in the back wearing his full Orbalisk armor. Also, there's a random Star Destroyer Bluetooth speaker behind them. So now we're going to kind of move down to the Bounty Hunter Scum. These guys are kind of just from a mixture of movies and EU, because I couldn't really find a spot for them elsewhere. In the back here, we have a Slave 1 that I picked up for literally 5 cents, which was an insane deal. And in the front, I have a couple Bobos, a couple of different things. Right here is the full Bounty Hunter lineup from Empire Strikes Back, not in really any order, but we've got IG-88, Boba Fett, Zuckuss, Bossk, Forlom, and Dengar. We also have a Dirge figure right behind them. Behind Dirge, we see 5 different pod racer pilots with all their flags, which I picked up for 25 cents at a local Toys R Us. Over here, we have Prince Shizor, and then several just Cantina aliens, which we can see in A New Hope. All these guys are. So they're really cool, but I don't have enough to make a full cantina display, so I kind of just decided to put them all down here. I believe this is the last not movie set, so now we're going to move on to the Phantom Menace figures. So here's all my Phantom Menace figures, and in here I have a couple Qui-Gon Jinns, actually a third one in the back. I've got an OPC killer in the back, we've got Jar Jar riding a Kadu right there, and then also I have just several Gungans sitting up here kind of in the front. We got that Rodian pod racer mechanic back there, we've got Adi Gallia, Quinlan Voss, Obi-Wan as a Padawan, Darth Maul in the front. This yellow droid, which is kind of reflecting right now, is actually one of the droids that helps repair Padme's starship on their way to Tatooine. On this left side, I've got just several politician-type Coruscant figures. We got Boss Nass, Queen Amidala, Chancellor Palpatine, Newt Gunray. We've got a Nemoidian guy back there, and then we also have a Senate Commando. Moving on from that, right to the left here is the Attack of the Clones. So in here, we have some other Jedi that I didn't include up at the top because they fit better in this shelf. I have another Saesee Tin figure. I have Sarissa Jang, Sefjet Josal, Coleman Trebor, Anakin, Padme, Jocasta Nu right there. And then I have another Yoda figure with a couple of the younglings he was teaching in that movie. Up in the back, there's another Aayla Secura, Bayek Search. We've got the Twi'lek Senator. I'm blanking on his name right now. I think it's Orn Free Ta. We've got Jango Fett right there. And then just several Geonosis battle droids that we see in the movie, as well as a Geonosis in the front. And it looks like that guy took a tumble, so I'll be picking him up in a bit. Moving down, I don't really have a Revenge of the Sith shelf, but this is kind of the closest thing I've got. It's just these two shelves. And in here is kind of all my Wookiee warriors. So I have that Wookiee gunship from Kashyyyk. I've got Tarful in the middle, Captain Maru Maru, and then the rest of them are kind of just different Wookiee warriors in the collection. Right here is the other semi-Revenge of the Sith shelf. We've got Grievous with his wheel bike, which is the vintage collection Grievous. We've got the droid Tri-Fighter, which has all the buzz droids that go onto Anakin and Obi-Wan's ships in Coruscant. 2 super battle droids, and then just one of Grievous's Magna Guards. I also have this crab droid with a 212th guy on top of it, like we see in that scene in Revenge of the Sith. Now, on to what kind of really got my whole collecting journey started, the Clone Wars. So this area is just all my Clone Wars figures made from the TCW TV show. I don't have any from the 2003 series in here. Starting off over here, I have Admiral Yularen, and then just several Clone Wars Jedi. It may be surprising, but I don't actually have a Clone Wars Anakin or Ahsoka, but I'm thinking about getting some soon. So I have a Mace Windu over here, Aayla Secura, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Eth Koth, Kit Fisto, and Shak Ti over here for my Clone Wars Jedi. Over here we have Jar Jar and a couple of bounty hunters. Embo is actually one of my favorite figures, and then we've got Cad Bane over there. Also in the back, there's a V-19 Torrent Starfighter with Oddball sitting in it. We've got this AT-RT and a Death Watch guy on top of his speeder. We also have Commander Gree and a 41st Trooper. Moving down, I've kind of got my whole Separatist area. So right here, I have a Hyena Bomber, which you can see in the Ryloth arc. I've got Grievous's Starship with a Clone Wars Grievous inside of it. And then I have Ganoct and just some other Droideka figures. Geonosis and Undead right there. And then here's an AAT with the guy from the Clone Wars movie in here. I think his name is Worm Loathsome. We've got 3 Commando droids over here. Tactical droid, a couple more B1s. And that about wraps up all the droids. So in here is all the clones from the Clone Wars era. So I've got a Republic attack shuttle in there, which I didn't really have room to unfold, unfortunately. But here's all my clone troopers. So down in the bottom left, I've got Commander Wolf with his Wolf Pack down there, Sinker and Boost. I've got another ARF trooper, which we see in the Clone Wars movie on Teth. I've got Commander Thyre, or Lieutenant at this stage. Got Jack from that Rugosa arc. Got Cody, just some 212th guys there, and then Rex with some 501st guys. And you can see I actually have that Snow Rex in the very back. So that's most of it for the prequel and Clone Wars era. So we're actually going to move on to the original trilogy. So moving up here, I have some A New Hope figures, and all these ones right here are vintage except for some of the things in the back. So starting off, we've got Luke and 3PO and R2 on his speeder from Tatooine. You can see in the opening scenes. Got Leia and Han, and funny enough, this is the only Leia in my collection, which may seem odd, and it definitely is. Got Chewie, couple Sand People, Hammerhead, Walrus Face. We've got Greedo back there, Jawa, Gonk Droid. And then on this side, we've got a vintage Darth Vader, a couple Imperial Droid, and then in the back, we have a vintage Dewback with a Stormtrooper on it, Jabba the Hutt from that A New Hope Special Edition scene, and then a Ronto with a Jawa riding it. Right to the left of that is my Hoth and Empire Strikes Back display. So this one's pretty much all Hoth stuff, but I do have more Empire stuff coming up. In here, I just have a lot of army builded Power of the Force 2 Hoth guys, as well as some vintage ones you can see mixed in. I have a vintage Hoth Luke riding a Tauntaun, vintage Han. I've got a couple vintage X-Wing pilots. And then back here, there's a vintage Snowspeeder, vintage Wampa, and a vintage turret gun. And there's a X-Wing pilot flying inside of the Snowspeeder. Looking over to the left, this is my Endor / Return of the Jedi setup with Rogue One figures in the back. Over here, I've just got a couple Imperial Stormtroopers, some Scout Troopers, mostly vintage, but there's one that's not. Just got a couple more vintage figures, and then I have a 2 Prune Faces, another Endor Soldier, then these 2 Ewoks, which is Wicket and Logray, and then funny looking up here, we've got a vintage ATST with another Ewok glider gliding on top of it. I've also got this escape pod from A New Hope and Director Krennic, Death Soldier, and a couple of the Rogue One figures behind him. Now moving on to the rest of the original trilogy and Return of the Jedi figures. Up here I have on my staircase just a bunch of original trilogy figures. So the first shelf is meant to be New Hope, and then Empire, and then Return. So starting down here in the first one, I've got a couple of X-Wing pilots. I've got a Black Series Biggs Darklighter, and then a vintage collection Luke Skywalker. I've got R2, R5-D4, Chewie, Jawa, Old Ben Kenobi, and this is the one that comes with the Princess Leia pack with the communicator. Over here is Tarkin, a Vader dueling another Ben Kenobi from Power of the Force and Shadows of the Empire, respectively. Another Imperial Stormtrooper, and that's kind of all for the A New Hope line. Up on this next shelf, I've just got some Empire stuff. So here is Lando, another Luke from Bespin, and here's just the more Bespin figures I was talking about. I've got a Luke with a Yoda down there, a non-rocket firing Boba Fett, and then a couple other Hoth guys, and then here's the Bounty Hunter lineup in vintage form from Empire Strikes Back, except I'm missing 4-LOM. On the last shelf, you can see I have the vintage mail-away Palpatine figure, along with a Luke Stormtrooper, a couple Royal Guards, Power of the Force 2 removable helmet Darth Vader, Death Star Trooper. I've got a Sebastian Shaw Anakin Skywalker right there, and then I also have a one-armed Admiral Akbar and a Power of the Force 2 Lando Calrissian. Moving on from this shelf, we have my Jabba's Palace action figure collection. Now, this is, if not my favorite, my second favorite collection in my collection, if that makes sense. We've got the 6-inch Black Series Jabba the Hutt in the back, just because you can see him better. Over here to the left, we've got a skiff full of skiff guards. This is the vintage collection skiff. Down here, we've got Hermie Odal, Amana Man, Max Rebo, a couple Gamorrean guards. We've got Droopy McCool back there, Akrev, a Bomar Monk, 8D8. A couple others back here. We've got Yakface, Reese, Malakili, Tessic back there. We've got Bib Fortuna, just some of Jabba's musicians. We've got Jaquil right here. We got Ephant Mon right here. We've got Rapper Tooney, Greedo, and then just some of his dancers. We've got another old Luke figure right here from Power of the Force, and the Power of the Force 2 Rancor, which is actually one of my favorite Rancors out of all of them. Obviously, it's the only one I have, so it's the favorite in my collection. So that would be my Jabba's Palace action figure collection. So moving down here, these are just some Star Tours guys and just some random stuff I've got going on. I got, obviously, Jabba's not Star Tours, but I got Jabba Glob, and then a bunch of Star Tours and different Disney droids and stuff I've got from the Disney parks. So moving on to my sequel trilogy era figures, I actually wasn't a huge fan of the sequel trilogy. I liked Force Awakens, so you'll see mostly those figures, but I only have a few Last Jedi figures and almost no Rise of Skywalker figures. So starting on the left, I kind of have it arranged First Order, just kind of random characters that have no allegiance, and then Resistance. So on the Resistance side, I've got Luke, Princess Leia, Rey, Poe and Snap Wexley, Chewie from the exclusive Millennium Falcon set. We've got the droid over there from the Resistance base. And then in the middle, we have Unkar Plutt, Sidon Ithano. He's that red guy right there. We've got Sarko Plank. He's in one of the new canon novels. Well, new. It came out in like 2014. We've got a couple First Order guys over here. A couple Stormtroopers, Flame Trooper, Kylo, Phasma, that type of deal. And then in the very back, we have the First Order TIE Advanced Starfighter. So that's kind of all for the bulk of the figures in our collection, but now we're going to be going down and taking a look at some of the other vehicles and Clone Wars era figures that I have kind of sitting down on the side. So moving down here, I have the Octuptara droid, and this was kind of with my Separatists, but I couldn't really put it anywhere without it blocking the shelves, so it's just kind of in the back right there. Next to that, I have my first ATTE, and in this one, I've just got some yellow clone troopers. These guys are kind of a mix of 212th and 327th, mostly 327th here, but we've got Commander Bly from the Revenge of the Sith 4-pack. We've got a pilot that came with a little speeder. We have this clone came with the Geonosis 4-pack, so that one's pretty rare these days. This is the 5 POA kind of crappy Commander Bly, and then here's an ARC Trooper that came with 2 Choi in the Order 66 2-packs. We've got the Gunner on the ATTE, and then also down here, I have a Bark Trooper riding the speeder and a Shock Trooper with one hand. Looking up just a little farther, I have 2 more of these smaller walkers. I kind of forget what they're called. They're there, and then I also have a second ATTE, which I got for $25, which was a remarkable deal. And in this one, I just have 2 plain white clone soldiers, an Imperial Stormtrooper, as well as that repainted Commander Bly figure. I also got the Gunner in this one. Moving on to back over here, I have the MTT from the Phantom Menace. So right next to this, I've got 2 STAP droid speeder things. And then on the MTT, I've got this Geonosis droid kind of hanging off the side. And in here, we've got the 3 pilots, if I can open it up there. 3 pilots in there, and then we've also got these 16 droids that come inside of the rack. All 16 are in there, even on the other side you can't see. This is a really cool vehicle, and honestly one of the favorites in my collection. Now, because this is a room tour, we got to look at all the posters, books, and just other things that have got Star Wars related around the room. So, up here behind this wall here, I've got my 3 Star Wars original trilogy posters. I've got the A New Hope one, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And unfortunately, none of these have any signatures or anything, but they're all still super cool. So moving on down over to this side, I've got a lot of Star Wars Legends novels. So I'm not going to go through every single one, but some of my favorites are the Republic Commando series right here. I really liked the Kenobi novel right here. These 3 Coruscant Knights were okay. Force Unleashed is really good. Shadows of the Empire is really good. Whoops. If you are a Thrawn fan and EU fan, these ones I would highly recommend. These are really good books. Jedi Academy trilogy is good. And then New Jedi Order, which is basically here to here, all really good. Legacy Era, which I only have 1 book in this series so far, but that's good. And then Crucible is also just a fun one, and it's the latest one after Return of the Jedi produced, so it's like 40-something years, and it's really good. Now for the other books I have, you might have seen these in the background of this area right here, but I've got a couple more Legends books right here, and Plagueis, Outbound Flight, Maul, whatever, those are all really good. Same with the Tor ones right here. I've got both Battlefront games, Thrawn Duology, I'm still missing the 3rd one. Got the original trilogy all novelization right here. I've got a Guide to the Expanded Universe right here, and then all 6 DVD copies of the Star Wars movies. And these are actually the 2006 ones, so you can watch the originals of the originals like it was in theaters, kind of. Behind that, all I've got back there is just the Boba Fett series from Jude Watson, the Last Jedi series from Jude Watson, and then also just some other Blu-rays from all the newer movies like Solo, Force Awakens, all that. Another shelf with books you may have noticed is right here, and this is where I'm kind of keeping my canon books / encyclopedia style books. So right here I've got the Force Awakens visual guide. I've got the Ultimate Guide to Action Figure Collecting, which you guys may find more interesting. And I've actually got a review on it, which you can see at the end of the video. I've got the 2 essential guides, 2 of the essential guides right here. Pop-Up Guide to the Galaxy, all these books, and this one was actually the first ever book I got Star Wars related, and this is kind of what got me into the Star Wars Expanded Universe, so I really love that one. Here's a couple canon books and another book right there. Right here we have this little thing, which I'm going to set aside, so we can talk about this bag right here, which my grandma actually made, so it's one of a kind, technically, and my grandma made this for my dad when he was a kid, to store all his vintage figures. Obviously he didn't know there would be vintage at the time, but he kind of passed it down to me, and so now it's just a really cool little display thing. So here's a better look at that if you didn't see it well. Also right here I have my carded collection. It's really massive, as you can see, these Power of the Force figures. All the carded figures I got, really huge collection. Right here, just a couple more card backs. This is from the C-3PO with the escape pod, and this is a Shadows of the Empire one. Up here above my closet, I've got the Millennium Falcon poster. And speaking of which, I just noticed this in my closet because I actually set it up and then took it down because I was having friends over. So it was kind of in the way. I got the Force Awakens Millennium Falcon. I had that set up with figures on it before, but here it is. I think I took out all the figures already, that Finn and Chewbacca, but there's that. I kind of forgot about it. And then also another thing I put away, it looks like, is the vintage carry case that was used to carry some of these figures. So here it is right here. I got that, and then I also have a couple other posters right here. Revenge of the Sith poster, and then the Revenge of the Sith action figure poster. Now for the very last thing, if anyone is still watching this video, I've got a calendar, and then I've also just got a bunch of card backs from figures that I got carded and opened up. So there's a bunch of different ones in here. Unnotable one is this Geonosis 3-pack one that I did get carded, but it was a long time ago. I was still a kid playing with these figures, no idea how valuable they would become, so I kind of shredded it, but it's there. And then I've just got a couple other ones, a couple of vintage collection ones right here. I think one of these was the Luke, yeah, this one, and then this one was a Knight of Ren. So basically I just keep a lot of the card backs nowadays. I used to not, but here they are, and I didn't set them up because I didn't want to clog up the whole floor that I was going to be walking on, but I just wanted to show them to you guys at the end anyways. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys made it all the way to this far in the video, this far into the end, that's really awesome because normally people don't stay, especially for a 20-minute video like this. But thank you guys for that. If you're here, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe because I'm just trying to grow the channel, and it's one of my goals and dreams to kind of get 1,000 subscribers in the future, and we just reached 100, which is really cool. I'll be posting another room tour video in probably January of 2021 to just update you guys on the collection, and we'll see how it's going. And I may post a montage of this whole thing, just a quick like 1 or 2 minute video so everyone can kind of just get it in a more condensed way. So if you want to see that, just comment that. I think I'm going to do it anyways, but I'm not really sure. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all your support. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.